Good afternoon, this is Lucky Links. Sometimes I get people asking me about particular decks, oracles. How would you use this? What do you think of this? How do you interpret this? And one of the things that's a real trend these days are these decks that only seem to have one gender. So you've got the deck that's all men or the deck that's all women. And people, and I've actually had people write me and say, well, how would you read these? And I say I wouldn't. I'm not a real fan of anything that tries to, there seems to be this like immense, I saw it when I was in academia too, there's immense, there's an immense emphasis on gender. And I am of the view that if you don't have an oracle that contains representations of both, then what world are you living in? For one thing, when you're doing a reading for people, they're going to have both men and women come up. No one is in a situation in which they are exclusively surrounded by only men or only women. And on top of that, these particular, and this is a really good one, this is the Mexican lottery. These energies don't just represent male or female, they represent projective and receptive energies. And there's yin and yang, heaven and earth. There are these complexities to these basic energies that we deny when we choose to push them out of our life, or to deny, whatever's coming from that other energy. And I'm not talking about sexuality. I'm not talking about any of that. I'm just talking about the basic energies. When you deny that, and I've seen this, is every once in a while I'll pick up a deck and I'm like, oh, this is kind of neat, and then I look and there's only one representation of one half of the sort of yin-yang energy, and I go, well, that's not practical. And any of you guys who've watched my videos know that I'm all about practicality. So before you decide that it's time to scrub the world of whatever the opposite gender is for whatever reason, remember that there is something to learn. And if you're in a situation where you're trying to scrub that entirely, then ask yourself what you're afraid of. Are you afraid of being receptive in a situation? Are you afraid of projective energy? And are you afraid that if you're in a receptive energy that you're going to be dominated and overthrown by this energy? And if so, then ask yourself, well, how can you become more projective? And vice versa. If you're so... And the other thing is that if you see this in the gym all the time, someone who goes yang constantly and never takes the break from the workout, they hurt themselves. Vice versa, someone who goes completely receptive and yin, they find themselves lacking the vital energy to push through obstacles and push past things. So you consider the importance of these as energies, not as gender. And here's the other thing. With all the people claiming to be spiritual right now and claiming to be woke, if you're trying to oppress one gender or the other, and I don't care who you are, I don't care if you're a woman trying to bash men or a man trying to bash women, I don't care who you are. If you think you're so spiritual and you think that this gender is really what we're in when we're out of that body, then there's no woke going on there. I'm Lucky Links. Considering the power of receptive and projective energy in an oracle, find yourself an oracle that represents how those things develop and represent themselves in the world around you, because one of the reasons that people get confused in these oracles is, for one thing, sometimes it'll come up as you get a male card and it's literally representing a man, and then you can't find or can't figure it out because you've scrubbed the deck entirely of them, and it doesn't really do you any help, doesn't do you any good. The other thing too is that sometimes one of these will come up to represent the opposite gender. You may go, well, I see a very strong woman. In those cases, you may see the actual character on the card transform clairvoyantly. You may say, well, I see a woman here, and she's very strong, and she's very powerful, and she's She has the ability to do what she wants to do, but she's not using the courage or the strength to do so. So gender has become this huge hot button right now, and huge explosive topic with people. And I would like to warn you guys, if it's all about gender one way or another, you're not looking at the bigger picture, and you're not seeing that someone is trying to pit you against each other. These two energies fit and work together, and to isolate one from the other is to leave. And again, I am not talking about sexual preference. I'm not talking about any of that. I'm just talking about the basic energies, projective, receptive, the male-female energies. They're in the world around you. There's no way around it. And when we find challenges in those areas, it tells us what we can strengthen in ourselves. So if you find yourself in a situation where you're worried about a certain kind of energy, do what you can to put yourself in a position where you're strong enough to be able to manage that. I'm Lucky Links, as always, wishing you success and good fortune in all that you do. If you'd like to learn how to read these little babies, the Mexican Loteria cards, or if you'd like to learn how to read tarot, or if you'd like to learn how to read Lenormand cards, or playing cards, or a crystal ball, I have many virtual classes that you can do so. If you'd like to contact me to find out more and find out what the rates are, or if you'd like to call me to schedule a reading, 779-302-8009, or you can email me at conjurehope@gmail.com, and I'll get you set up. Remember, having an oracle with both of the energies gives you a lot more options than if you scrub them.